Okay. Yeah. Great. Go. Okay. Super. Let's go. Right. Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Okay, look, we'll just get on a little bit loose enough. Let's find a shoulder width. And walk in front of back. And open up the sides. And working with the rotation. Yeah, and taking a little bit inside, outside. Right, and take a nice deep breath in, reach your chin up, hinging down. Good. Reaching to the head, left and right. And it's a shoulder. And take it up and down. And gently circling both ways. And sink the shoulders, a little bit closing to the front, open to the back. And open it to the top, nice and full. And then reaching out to the back and down. Yeah, pressing out to the sides. Get the pressure in the palms and then just rolling through the shoulders. And then letting the palms come up, rolling alternatively through the palm. And circling a bit through the elbows. And just mixing different directions. And going to the wrists, keeping the elbows close to the body. And change. And keeping those fists just loosen out to the back with a rotation. And reaching up and over. Okay, just stepping out. Grab the legs nice and soft. Trying to keep the feet parallel. Okay, stepping out wide. I'm just reaching towards the foot. And sitting down into the center of it. You can take the ankles, just give yourself a little bit of movement here. Good, pressing up, just taking one foot back. Nice and mobile with it. Just think about just dropping the knee into it and lengthening back out. Dropping the knee into it, lengthening back out. Just a kind of up and down direction with it. And then just add into a little bit of a touch forward with the upper body. Body's down, reach forward with the other hand. Body down, reach forward. Good. And just if you're on the other side. Okay, first of all, just get that length, just get the knee kind of setting up and down. And kind of elevator in a lift. And then with that, just reaching into it, lengthen the upper body into it. Good. Next week, just working with that length and extension now. Reach the leg back in this one. Reach the hand out, touch the knee to the ground, pull the body back up. Reach up, back up. Reach and lengthen all the time. Get up on one each side. Good. Very last one, just for a little bit of balance work. Just find one leg, reach the leg out, hinge the body over, bring the hands out long, and then just play with a little bit of a rotation, keeping the inside of the lead leg very strong, really pressing the big toe into the ground, especially. Let the foot be nice and wide, and just play with a hip opening, hip closing position. That's good. Tricky one. Yeah, good one. And then switch the leg with it. So again, just find yourself stable. Really press into that front foot, particularly the big toe. Spread the foot as wide as you can. Lengthen the back, gauge the core. Find the arms, and then just play with, can the hips stay free in that position? Good. Yeah. Nice. Good. Very tricky. Good. And then just shake the legs out a little bit. Just roll the wrists out a little bit. And the other way. Spread out the fingertips. Now making fists. That's time to shake it off. And shake out the arms. And to the legs a little bit. And shake everything out a little bit. Good. We'll go to a little bit of okay work. Okay, good. Perfect. Okay. Okay, perfect. We'll just go a little into the first 𝗧𝗪𝗡. So just find your nice pace with it. Nice clear form, pausing at the top and the bottom of the cup. Yeah. Okay, great. So we'll look at one specific issue which is kind of coming up for me personally as well in other things, particularly in the foundation training stuff, which is about creating length through the body. So length through the whole structure and length through individual parts. So obviously they really go together. And we'll use the form of it as well. So if you think about the first 𝗧𝗪𝗡, the second, and then the third, they're like really increasing these kind of lengthening paths through the body. So we'll just look at number one for a little bit, and then we'll go into the other two. But the first thing is just think about this kind of length and opening up. So especially as you go to here, you've got a big kind of lengthened position of the body. So particularly noticeable like in this area, in the arm, but also in the legs here. So you're going from like this position to really like a lengthened hip position here. And then the only question with it is like, how much of it can I keep to go into the movement? So the main thing I want to avoid is using like contractive force down. So something like crunching back in. Okay, apart from raising with contraction, which I don't want to do. I don't want to also like go into lengthening and then go back into like contraction as I go into it. So just play with the form a little bit. We'll look at some specifics with it, but just think about being in this position. Now I already want the kind of length through the body in the 𝗏𝑰, and then I want to feel that I can just increase it, again, particularly in the shoulder, particularly in the hip, and then how much of that sense of length can I really keep in the form as I go into the cup. So just play with it a little bit. It's really like working like elastic bands through the structure. You can think of the body like one big elastic band, or you can think of the body as like a series of elastic bands that I'm looking to kind of lengthen, and then use that length to go into movement basically. So all the movements like creating length, and then how can I use it to create the movement. Yeah. And the great thing about this is that the pose itself will do it, so that the movement of coming into 𝗏𝑰, if I actually just follow the path of it, will actually just naturally lengthen those structures. So I don't actually have to do anything. I just need to get to the position basically. But again, I need to note if I'm doing things like this in terms of contracting into it. and things like the head position will kind of limit the length in the body. Shoulder position closed will limit the length of the structure, and like closed hip. And the other one, which isn't so noticeable, is like the knee bracing, something like the knee getting stuck, and then it's going to limit the ability of the hip to work through the foot. And so I want the feeling that the knee's soft all the time, because that's the key connection between the hip and the foot, to be able to actively lengthen the structure. And the moment the knee braces and sticks, the hip also gets stuck. And so that's a common thing, because generally lots of the hip problems actually originate in the lower body, or originate lower down. And one of the big blocks in this case is the knee. Yeah, nice. Good. Now, apart from the movement doing itself, also the breath work involved in it is going to kind of help with it as well. So if you think about, there's obviously, there's a lot of things I can do with the breath. The one that's really going to constrict it is the idea of holding the breath. So if I hold the breath with it, everything just becomes tight and rigid anyway. So whatever I'm doing, if I hold the breath, everything's going to just get kind of tight, rigid. But the second one away is like going into a breath which is going to kind of collapse the structure in the front. So particularly this area, if it goes into a kind of collapsed kind of structure, it's like relaxed, but it's also like collapsed is another way to look at that. So think about a breath in this case, do a few slow, but think about a breath kind of coming in, full, and then if you can breathe out with the nose in this case, because it's going to be a slower breath, and just close the sword down into it. Don't think about power in this case, but again, think about length through the whole torso, particularly also the back as well. So if you think about breathing big into the back of the rib cage, and where you're touching the spine here, think about using that contact point to open up the back of the rib cage, and then again keep that expansive feeling as you cut down as you go into the cut. So play with it a little bit slower. Let the breath kind of lead it in this sense, but use the breath again to keep a kind of expansive quality to the body. So the movement will do it if I follow the movement, and the breath will also kind of assist with it as well, or really assist with it in terms of creating space, creating length, basically getting out of compressive or constrictive structure. So. Yeah, great, good. Yeah, great, good. So this is why, like, the first degree is a very good one, because it's such a simple way to do it. Now, take this to number 2, but think about the same kind of things with it. You're just expanding the movement, and you're really kind of, again, coming up to the top, in this case, touch the back again just before, and then go into it again. But yeah, think about all the extension work and all the length that you create in the top of the movement. See if you can kind of maintain it. So you've got the structure really long in this position, maintain it, and bring it into the ground in this case. Again, very easy to kind of collapse the structure into it. So just play with, again, create length, and keep the length as you go into it. So you should still feel a very strong kind of up direction. I just want to feel that it's kind of releasing through the bokken, through the cut itself. But I don't want to kind of limit the movement by restricting or constricting the structure. And I want to let the movement itself create that space. So. And again, just look at the footwork a little bit, really go into the hip work again. If the knees lock in this case, if I kind of brace the structure of the knee and then I go into movement, it's very difficult for the hip to kind of function through that. So again, creating length through the structure of the leg is really impossible. And then what tends to happen is there's a kind of push it down into the leg. So it becomes something like this. I brace into it and then I push off to the back. But in this case, the whole structure is kind of restricted in terms of movement. So think about really, in this case, really moving with length. So if you think in that position, the knees are very soft. And again, they're going to allow that kind of elastic quality of the hip and the foot to work. And then think about going into the pattern and going into it with length. So as you go into this movement, think about creating length through the structure, particularly down the front of the hip, and particularly down the back of the leg. So here, and then the stabilization which needs to happen in the movement, so that I don't kind of wobble over, is really like the inner arch of the foot. So the big toe, the inside arch, and really spreading into the heel. And then I use that as the kind of track to pull the hip back with this. So just play with this, but it's that sense that as you roll into it, I do it with length, and then I really find that inside of the arch, and then I go in. And it really helps in this case to really plant the foot. So you can do it with the heel lifted, but the problem is this: if I go into with the heel lifted, this is not so stable a structure to go through the hip. So it's much easier if I just find the heel, let it sit into the ground, feel that connection to the hip, lengthen, and then just let the hip kind of pass back through it. But just play with this kind of interesting area of the body. And again, I don't want to do something which is like compressing the structure, like in that kind of sense. Just want to get the sense that the weight is compressing to the foot, but the length's actually going to be a cause of that. So play also with like really strongly pressing down into the ground with the foot. So it's the sense that I'm really rooting the body down. Now, if I really press with that strongly and the knee's soft, then you're going to actually cause that length to happen naturally. So to kind of press, the weight's really plugging into the ground, and then again the hip's free to then be able to move with it. So there's a point where the hip needs to become your anchor for the movement, and then this hip then is free to really create that moment. And it's the same going back. Think about the demands on the leg and the knee to go into it. I want to kind of roll through it with weight, and let the knee just pass back through. And in terms of creating length through the legs, that's a kind of key aspect of it. If you think of the body like two rubber bands, in this case, one part's connected to the hip down to the foot, and the other's connected from the hip towards the hands. Yeah, good. And then just bring that into it. So then the key with us in terms of the sword work is that length that I'm creating, with that pressure I'm creating down in the foot, and the length here is also going to kind of create the length that goes through the shoulders and the hands. So think about that pressure being kind of fundamental. That's primary, and then I go like this kind of lengthens down through it, and then the similar kind of thing going back, rolling through the foot with the length, and then the length is kind of the extension of the body is received through the foot, through a strong foot that receives it, and then the length can kind of continue into that movement. And if the feet aren't stable in this case, it's going to be something where the body gets kind of pulled in and out. That kind of potential gets kind of lost. That's it. And then last thing, just bring the breath work into it again. So think of a slow movement, and again, if you can do it with the nose, so you get really a sense of a long, deep breath in. And again, especially breathing into the back of the ribs, think about big and tall with the body. Do that position, and then slowly release it back down. But again, use the breath in this case. Oh, I swallowed my coffee bag. Use the breath in this case to keep this whole structure kind of big, especially thinking now about the torso. So it's one of the areas which tends to go into collapse, especially with cutting work. I go up, and then something like, whoa, this collapses, and this whole area gets kind of caught and restricted. So think about just keeping it long. And it's active. And the body's going to kind of settle down in the lower lower abdomen towards the kind of pelvis. There's this kind of weight down. And the best image for this is if you think about like a water drop, like a cartoon image of a water drop, with that kind of pyramid shaped drip at the top, and then really weighing down. And just the motion itself will actually do it. If I follow the pattern, if I get the structure in place, if the breath's kind of assisting, it's going to just draw it into place. And the kind of feeling with this is to try and create this kind of elastic quality of the body, even within a basic pattern. So that's kind of especially important for us because we don't want to create rigidity and contraction in our basics, because that really goes one way. There we go. Super. Good. We'll go to number 3. So we'll bring all of it together, just play with it because we're kind of familiar with doing it with the breath work in that case. So again, think about length coming in. We'll just go a few details with it, but the first we just get into the form. So you've got that big, long extension out. And again, the idea is like, can I keep that length as I go in and engage the structure of the lower body, bring this all to the back, and then release it with the out breath. Because this tends to be a bit of a sharp one, you can do the breath with it tends to be the breath's going to be done with the mouth, because I need to get it out quite fast in terms of this. So play with it a little bit. If you do it slowly, you can kind of maintain it with the nose, the breath out, and that's going to again keep the torso kind of engaged throughout. But play with it. If you go a little bit faster with it, definitely go to the mouth with the out breath, but try and maintain the in breath with the nose, so you get a nice full slow extension up. Maintain as you come down and release as you come over. And the only thing you really need to do is, because this is quite a long movement to go in and out of, is take a natural breath in between. So as you'll finish the breath here, take a natural breath in, let it out, and then start the pattern again. Otherwise it's it's quite a task to do if you don't take that natural breath at the end. Nice, Catherine, good. Very good. Nice. Okay, nice. There we go. Okay, we'll just look at some details, but I don't want to interrupt. Okay, great. Just look at one thing what a lot of people struggle with, this is like creating length in this position. So if you think about coming up, then doing this, apart from one thing happening, which is like the hips do nothing and the arms just kind of come down. Nobody's doing that, but think about this as you go from this position. Think about creating length here. So the back of the leg is going to start to kind of squeeze open. So the hips are kind of pressing down and you're creating length really in the inside of the thighs here and down again into the kind of inside arch of the foot. So there's a kind of wrap around the leg, but the primary thing is think about that length and especially engaging here. And there's that you're kind of using the breath in case that you're not breathing out, but you're compressing it down here. And imagine you're kind of sitting onto it. And again, I want to load the spring in a sense of length, not crunching down, something like that happening. So notice there's a difference between the knees kind of go collapse and I go like boom, sit into the posture, or I kind of spread into the posture. So there's a kind of feeling here of spreading, and then again the weight's going to shift to the inside of that foot. This is very strong, and then this can really extend up. Okay, so there's a kind of springing up from that position, springing up, and then you're into the cut here. So it's a very dynamic movement, especially this movement's got a very nice kind of lead into it, which is very slow. Full, and then there's like a loading segment, and then there's really like a sharp snap out of it this way, and it comes from that position, that kind of potential of the body to release it comes from that kind of compression here, which isn't constriction but it's lengthening, and then it's kind of releasing it out. So it's a very nice move to do slowly in and kind of strongly explosive out. Yeah, there we go, nice. Okay, good. One more point. It's always these kind of fundamental things which get, as I go into complex patterns, they tend to get lost, and I need to constantly like bring myself back to them. Because in this one you don't reach the back, the tendency is to lose the back in the motion, so everything starts to become a little bit more in the front, kind of front, 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 and because everything goes there, the body wants to go there. So if you think every so often when you do this, play with this, but play with just sometimes just going into number one. Okay, and what I want to do is really get a sense of the back being full, and this sense again, this kind of length and opening, and especially also in terms of the breath, trying to really breathe big into the back of the ribs as well. So think about that whole area being full, and then when you feel that kind of again is kind of re-engaged, take it back into number three. But again, I want to really get a sense of the back. The back's full, 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 and then into it. And as soon as I feel I kind of lose it in terms of like, oh, I'm starting to drift to the front, just play every so often, just coming back to a very simple pattern. But I'm trying to really get the body function in this way, and again, especially aware of the back of the structure. And there's kind of anchoring in the feet and all that kind of stuff. Very simple in number one. Much trickier in number three in terms of bringing those points in the form, into the form. Good. Good. Good, good, good. Nice. Good. Okay, we're going to take it to number four. So keep that same feeling now. It's obviously a little bit more dynamic, but really keep again the sense of the back. So you're really finding the back now in this one, but exploring a new thing, which is really coming forward with the cut, with the step. So just think about as you do it again. Do a few nice and slow. You also got the rotation to play with. So you've got two new movements in this case. You've got the step through, and you've got that rotation. And it's just kind of keeping that sense of the ground, the back, and again trying to create length through the structure all the time. So kind of create length through the movement and kind of deliver the cut with length as well. Ooh, don't hit the ball. Good. So we'll do one exercise with this, which is just addressing one area, which is also, well, especially Adrian's teaching, but we always get this as a kind of fault. None of you are doing this. I can't see your feet, but I know none of you are doing it. None of you are doing this kind of opening of the foot, right? So stepping through and opening the foot and then kind of stepping through. There's lots of reasons for this, apart from just bad habit of movement. It just becomes a habit once I get used to it. The other thing is that the hips stuck. So when we talk about this in terms of like the foot being in the ground and I just receive weight through, if I don't adjust the foot, another thing can happen, another kind of compensation, which is that I go like over the top of the hip. And so something like this happening. And so in their weight's like I'm pushing the foot up, I'm pushing the body away from the ground, and I'm going over, riding over the top of it this way. What I really need to be doing is like going through the hip. So what that means is that the knees really need to be soft. And again, there's kind of elasticity in the hip, and the foot needs to be really working. And again, I can't do something which is kind of contractive because it pulls me over the top of the hip. So the knee just needs to be very happy with this movement. So one exercise you can do, which is nice, it's just to activate the right areas of the body. Just if you put the toes together, the big toes together, and you spread the heels. And the idea with this is just, the first thing is just feel that you really screw the inner arch of the foot into the ground. So I'm going to really strongly press the inside arch from the big toe, the base of the big toe, to the heel. And I'm going to just plug the big toe into the ground. And I'm really going to press like as hard as I can with both feet. Just feel if you have one side stronger than the other. So in my case, I have a much stronger right side in terms of pressure. Maybe it's because I'm right-footed, maybe it's because we do a lot on the right side. But just feel that you can really press into it, strongly press into it. And then with that, just release the knees. So you're going to soften the knees, and the thighs are going to start to kind of touch, come into contact. Now keep that pressure down, and you just take the hips back a little bit. Now just feel in the leg where the kind of tension needs to go. What I want to feel is that the butt and the pelvis can start to really kind of widen at the back and soften. And I want to feel that the knees are still free to kind of work. And again, strongly press in with the feet and the inner arch, and really let the thighs kind of wrap in together. So you're trying to feel the inner thigh, which is a really strong muscle for the body for stabilization as well. I want to feel the inside of the body, and then I just want to feel that the knees are soft, and then they can kind of receive it. Just feel really strongly in, press really strongly into it. Think about it's kind of spiral down through the foot. Inner arch is kind of pressing, looking for the ground, and the knees are soft. Okay. And then just come out of it. There's obviously a breath what you can do with it, but just play with, in this case, you obviously got the foot not orientated in that position, but this position forward, because that's the direction of travel in this case. But feel it as you go into it. Just play with, as you go into the foot, looking for the ground through that. So the first thing I'm going to do is like the archway of the foot. I'm going to really press strong. The second thing is feel that the knee's actually free to do it. So the main thing which will limit the hip work is if the knee braces. So, and just feel what happens when you do brace the knee, because I go into it, the knee's not very happy taking weight. It braces, and then the hip just gets stuck. And then my only option is to either open the foot to go, or the other one, because I've committed to the movement now, is I go up and over the hip, and the body skips over the hip. So just play with it, be careful with it, because the knees are not very happy doing that, but think about going into it, find the inner arch, and then just play with sometimes bracing the knee, feel what happens to the body. And then come back out of it, and then feel that the knee's actually free. It only wants to hinge forward, and then just kind of step through it. The problem is this, because I'm not bracing the knee, it has a choice, or I have a choice. The knee can start to kind of wobble, and it can start to kick out, and it can start to rotate, and I don't want to do any of those things. So this is why really being active in the inner thigh, inside of the thigh here, is going to really protect the knee against the risk of rotation work and the risk of twisting the structure. So play with it, find the inside of the ground, soft knee, and then really think about the inner thigh is really strong. And I'm just going to kind of step through with it that way. And then once you've got the feel for it, just think about kind of spiral path through the hip to the foot. But again, the foot's the kind of first contact in that case. And then once I've kind of established that contact, kind of pass just the movement through it. Then the goal of all these exercises is just to pass through the hip, straight through. And so the knee's happy, the ankles are kind of working correctly. And the main things, again, nobody's doing it, but it's not to open the foot to basically create false hip mobility. And it's to protect the knee as I actually go through, as I do travel through the hip. Can I protect the knee so that it just functions like a hinge? That's it. Super, super, super. Got it. There we go. That's it. Now, think about the same thing as you go into the receiving leg. So you're going to do that. This is stable. the back leg's free, so it's going to kind of peel out of the ground, and then think about landing the weight into it. So again, I want to land with a similar structure. So if I'm to look at going to movement practices later, I really need to be kind of landing it in the right area. And so the foot's kind of going, this goes in, and then I'm thinking about, again, protecting the knee as I go in so that it can just receive it. So just play the kind of walk through. You've got it in the lead leg, the back leg's flexible, it's going to follow through, and then think about landing into that structure as well. And again, the test of the movement in this case is can I land into a flexible, elastic structure? And it's particularly easy in this case as I land the foot to brace the knee, and the body gets this kind of vroom, kick back. Yeah, or it just goes into a kind of wobbly kind of thing. Okay, so what I'm looking to do is that with that length created, kind of step in and absorb it into the ground. And you're only going to be able to really absorb it through an elastic structure. In that case, the knee's really primary in that connection. If it's braced, it will create stiffness. If it's not, that's the problem. When it's not, it's going to create maybe torsions and stuff. So I need to be really protecting the knee against twisting movements. That's it. Good. Perfect. Good. Great. Great. Okay. Great. And then we'll just take this to number 5, so it falls a kind of easy pattern to work with that. So again, because you're not finding the back now, that the tendency is that it starts to go to the front. So think about all that kind of pattern we've done here in terms of this, and then you're just going to start to let the body kind of spiral up. And yeah, think about kind of really creating space with it. So that spiral in the body is really going to start to open up. And then here, so that spiral path, which now goes to the foot, is really going to kind of go into the hands as well. So I want to replicate that spiral pattern up and down in this case. But the down one's primary, because if I don't have the down one, the up one goes really way off course. So it starts to really then twist the structure. So think about it nice and solid with it. And again, use the breath, take it slow. And feel, again, it's just the case, it's just in a general sense of like how much length can I create through the movement and kind of maintain it into the cut. Nice, nice, good, good. That's it. Good. Good. Very good. Good. Okay. Now the next one is basically like a test of that connection, whether I can maintain it and take it somewhere else with it. So you can do that obviously in like take this movement and go to 𝘭𝘪𝘢, but we'll look at number 7 because it's also a really interesting movement anyway. But think about this, just go into a very simple 𝘭𝘰𝑦𝑪. Now again, think about kind of falling into the structure. Again, the knee's not bracing, it's just free. And then all I want to do is pass that spiral through it. So again, now that the 7's just a test of this connection, or the ski-on 7's just a test of whether I can maintain that connection. Especially important now about the knee, because if the knee's kind of free, again, it's very easy to go into these kind of structures and the knee starts kind of knock out of structure. And then if I plant the foot and I knock the knee, then you get this really strange structure goes through the leg, and it's very, it's bad for the hips actually, and bad for the knee. So it's bad for the ankle. So think about that position. The knee's free, but this is very strong. So the inner thigh is strong, and then I'm going to really kind of start to roll that connection through. Now I need to really make sure that the knee just tracks that front position and doesn't start to kind of, again, kind of wobble or twist. So it's just the question of like whether kind of land into that structure, and then can I use it? Can I use it to take it into that? And then obviously there's a kind of restabilization at the end of it, all that stuff. But the first thing is just getting that sense of the initial movement of that spiral. Yeah, there we go. Good. We want a super clear anchor in that in the right leg in this case. Nice. Good. Yeah, good. Got it. Good. No, we go. Good. Great. Good. Last one, just a little bit more dynamic. So you just press forward into it in this case. So you're in this position. Normally we kind of step into it, but in this case, just a quick shuffle in. So think about going into a yokoni here, and then think about going into the ski here. So you've got two choices with this. You can do it static in the case that I kind of land everything and then go. Or if you feel really comfortable with it, do it in kind of elastic way where the back heel's just going to kind of reach in. As it goes, I'm going to use it to kind of spring into that connection here. So again, it's just creating just the feeling of creating length through the structure. And I create length, and can I use it to kind of propel forward into the ski in this case. I'm just kind of maintain it through the form. So simple form. It's just now shifting the quality a little bit to this kind of snapping, elastic kind of quality. I need to be landing into that structure securely and with stability. And then if I've got that, I can maybe start to kind of release it elastically. Okay. Yeah, just one last point with this. One thing which will kind of limit it in terms of this is like if I stretch out the body. So what I mean by it is like if I go too far with the step and then the body gets like really pulled out, and I have a lot of work with a stretched out position to pull the body back in, and it's gonna create a lot of problems with it. So just think where you would actually deliver the strike is actually I get here. If I was to use this practically, someone's pushing the sword down, they're right there and then just right on top of them here. So the use of this movement is actually quite short in terms of the structure, in terms of the movement. Sorry, but I just want to be kind of there. So you are advancing a little bit, but just play with it, and especially be careful also in this move as well. I don't want to go like so far into it. The body gets really overstretched, and then you're like a really overstretched elastic band, and then the body gets kind of pulled out from it. So think about kind of containing it. And, but it's really the issue of any kind of practice or any practice where I'm attacking or I'm going forward, the body gets kind of lost again in forward motion. And again, I forget all the kind of stuff from the first 𝗧𝗪𝗓 and the second and this, all the kind of foundational stuff. But it's very easy done. It's just knowing where those issues come up in the 𝗧𝗪𝗓. Yeah, very nice, good. Last couple. Very good. Very nice. Nice. Very good. Adrian. Good. Good. Okay, we'll stop there. So it's actually everything we do in Aikido, or the predominant kind of stuff we're doing is all the time like working with length and extension, and then expressing force through that. And it's very rare. That's difficult to say. Very rare. We're working like constricted force. And whenever it looks like we're actually working in extension anyway. So these are always the kind of issues which come up. And the sword's really a great tool to work with it. So we will stop right there. Very good. Great. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Okie dokie. Very good.